Hey everybody, it's Justin with Sillage Scents. I have got 10 clone fragrances that really shine in the heat. These are all excellent. I've been wearing them. It's been in the mid to upper 90s here. And so these are all fragrances you can get at a great price that have a gorgeous scent profile that really work in the heat. So before we get going, I want to ask you to please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got videos coming out like this every couple days, and I'd love it if you would join us. Also, please let me know in the comments, what are some clones or even some, original fragrances that you would say really shine in the heat that you would personally add to this list. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So the first one I want to mention, this is one that I had historically always considered to be a spring fragrance, but I've been wearing it over the weekend. It was very hot, and I have never enjoyed this fragrance so much in my life. I'm talking about Armaf Très Nuit. This is a clone, of course, of Creed's Green Irish Tweed, except this one is maybe a touch sweeter. Basically what you've got is sort of a soft fragrance that's got a green, I never got the soft, sweet green feel of this fragrance so much as I did over this weekend in the really high heat. I think it does something different in the high heat that I never really realized before. Of course, you've got the lemon verbena in the opening, you've got some violet leaf, you've got some iris, you've got some ambroxan. Aside from the actual notes, though, this was such an enjoyable fragrance. I still got the soapy cleanness in the opening, but then it went into this sort of soft, green, sweet, almost watery feel, almost like, sweet, wet grass. That sounds weird, but man, this fragrance absolutely shines in the heat. Highly recommended, Très Nuit by Armaf. All right, next up, this is one I just have a little 10 mil of, but this is a clone of Creed Aventus, but it's specifically Fruity Aventus. I've got several clones of Fruity Aventus, and this one might be my favorite, but it's just more expensive than the others, and this is Alexandria's version of their clone of Aventus, and it is called BRASILIA. And so this is Fruity Aventus, and man, it shines in the heat. And this is a very potent fragrance. Their fragrances are extrait de parfum or extract or whatever you call them. So they're a pretty high oil concentration, but that fruity, I got a little bit on my fingers. It smells so good. Out of the Aventus clones I have, there's another one I recommend more because it's inexpensive, but just straight up enjoyment factor, BRASILIA by Alexandria. Sorry, I only have this little 10 mil. Excellent, excellent clone of Aventus. They also do Smoky Aventus and some other versions. All right, this next one is not really a straight clone, but it's very similar to Versace Mano Fresh, but it's got a bamboo note and a little bit more of a watery character than Versace Mano Fresh, but it's still probably 85% similar to Mano Fresh. I'm talking about this one, a former semi-hype beast, MONTBLANC STARWALKER. This thing shines in the heat. It's, like I said, similar to Mano Fresh in sort of the watery, kind of sparkly character, but the bamboo note almost has like a cooling sensation, almost like you've been misted with water. And this thing, it's just got a little bit of sweetness. It's got a good bit of freshness, awesome fragrance in the heat. Almost a clone, definitely maybe inspired by, but definitely very closely related to Mano Fresh. All right, next up I'm going to go with one I've talked about several times lately. I keep going back to this one over and over again. This is a clone of Parfums de Marly Sedley. This is Lattafa's MAAHIR Legacy. And so what you're going to get in this one is this beautiful, bright, juicy citrus in the opening. You've got lime and bergamot and grapefruit. You've also got some mint. So you've got this sort of spritz like you've been sprayed in the face, although that would burn your eyes. So I don't know, you've just had a good sip of some icy, sweet, cooling citrus lemonade or something like that. But then as you start to go into the heart, there's some aromatic qualities, some lavender and some other aromatics, and some fresh spiciness that makes this one really unique. It actually reminds me in the dry down a lot of a fragrance I have back here, Abercrombie & Fitch First Instinct Extreme. But when you combine that burst of juicy citrus in the opening with that interesting aromatic spicy dry down, it's not the slightest bit cloying. It's very refreshing. Awesome fragrance for the heat. MAAHIR Legacy by Lattafa. All right, next up, I'm going to mention a couple that I get a little pushback whenever I mention them regarding the summer, but I love these in the summer. But listen, you don't have to spray a fragrance 6 or 8 or 10 times. You can spray 2 or 3 times and see what it does for you. This one's a clone of Jean Paul Gaultier Ultra Male. I'm talking about AFNAN 9 p.m. With 2 or 3 sprays. This thing smells amazing in the heat, in my personal opinion. Now, I don't go out in 90 degrees for 8 hours, but as I'm, going running errands or going out shopping with my wife or just spending a day with my family, I love this fragrance. My wife loves this fragrance. It's a long-lasting fragrance. It's still, some people push back on this as well, but on me, this is easily a 10-hour fragrance. Beautiful pear. You've got vanilla and pear and lavender and mint. So you've got those sweet notes, but you've also got those aromatic notes. And again, to me, some of my favorite summer fragrances are those sweet, fruity, and aromatic fragrances. And that's what this is, 9 p.m. by JPG. All right, next up. Another one that people might raise their eyebrows to, because this one is a clone of Spice Bomb, but it's got the tobacco note removed, which makes it, you've basically got woods and spice and citrus. This is Beverly Hills Polo Club Blaze, and this one is still probably, 90% close to Spice Bomb, but without that heavy tobacco, it's more appropriate for the summer. It's only about probably a 4 or 5 hour fragrance on me, but man, those 4 or 5 hours are so beautiful, so close to Spice Bomb without that thick, cloying tobacco. Check it out, because you can pick this up in a set at most rack stores for $10 or less. Highly recommend it. I've got the aftershave, the deodorant spray, the mini bottles, all of it. It's a great fragrance. All right, next up, let's go with one that, again, is a former hype beast. I'm wearing it today. I love this fragrance. It's an aquatic fragrance with some sweetness and a little bit of an airy kind of ozonic quality. I'm talking about RASASI HAWAS, and it's been called a clone of Invictus Aqua. It's very similar, although this one came out, I believe, a few months before Invictus Aqua. It's definitely got some characteristics of the original Invictus, a strong similarity to Invictus Aqua 2016, but it's also got a little bit of spice, just a touch, but that aquatic feel. There's some fruits, some plum, and some citrus, and so you've got a sweet, fruity vibe with a real watery, aquatic kind of feel as well. Some C notes. You've even got some ambroxan in here. Some, just a lot of freshness. Very refreshing, awesome fragrance. And today, I'm actually wearing it. I think 5 sprays of Hawas and 2 sprays of the original Invictus. Absolutely love it. Great fragrance for the heat. This next one is a clone of Eccentric Molecules. The one they released is just ISOE Super, and this is literally, I think theirs is ISOE Gamma or something like that, but this is basically ISOE Super as a single fragrance note, of course mixed with fragrance alcohol. This is Oak City Beard Company ISOE Super, and this one is their EXTRAIT. And so I got this for, I think, $30 on Amazon, and it is a strong version of ISOE Super. You wear it by itself, and it's this sort of very kind of invisible, ethereal, slightly sweet, woodsy kind of a fragrance that you will go nose blind to on and off, but you'll get these wafts, this fragrance cloud of this very pleasant, woodsy fragrance that's very airy, kind of fuzzy with a little bit of sweetness. Other people will pick it up as well. It's very mysterious, and it does great in the heat. ISOE Super. A lot of brands make this, but I can tell you this one's pretty good for the price. You can't beat it. You can also, of course, mix it with fragrances. It gives a little extra lift, a little extra longevity. That's what a lot of people do. They layer it. All right, next up, let's go with this one. This one I haven't talked about in a while. This is one of the original kind of clone hype beasts because it's so inexpensive. You can get 100 mil for $20 or less. You can get a 50 mil, which I think this is, or a 60 mil for anywhere from $10 to $15, depending on where you get it. This is a very good clone of the original Acqua di Gio with some differences. This is Perry Ellis 360 Red. You got to love this bottle. But this is such a great fragrance. It's got some strength. You know, some Perry Ellis fragrances are 3-hour fragrances. This is easily a 6, 7, 8-hour fragrance on me. It's got pretty good longevity. I like it better than the original Acqua di Gio because 360 Red has actually got a touch of cinnamon and it's got a little more sweetness than Acqua di Gio does, but it's still aquatic, woodsy, beauty is what you get from this one. If you like Acqua di Gio, this one got a lot of hype years ago, but it's still worth picking up. And I'll mix it with other Acqua di Gio clones of different flankers. And I love all of them. And I actually like kind of layering a few of them together. Does great in the heat. And another one that I layer with some Acqua di Gio flankers or clones is this one right here. This is a clone of Ganymede. This is EMIR Celestial by Paris Corner, I believe. Paris Corner of Fragrance World. I'll put it in the text of the video. But this is a killer clone of Ganymede. It's basically, notes-wise, you've got some... you've got a leather, you've got saffron, you've got some citrus, a little bit of orange, you've got some other resins that give a little bit of a leathery vibe. So there's kind of the notes you get, but what it smells like is something like clay or wet rocks with a little bit of saffron, spicy texture, and some sweet orange, some sweet citrus. I did not like this one whenever I got it, but I knew it was the kind of fragrance that if I kept wearing it, I'd probably fall in love with. And now, especially in the heat, I absolutely love this fragrance. And I've been wearing it layered with either something like 360 Red or Belcam OG Blue, which is a clone of Acqua di Gio Profondo. Something about this fragrance mixed with that kind of sweet, woodsy aquatic is gorgeous, works great in the heat. Ganymede is a very expensive niche fragrance. It's apparently worth it, but this one is going to get you almost everything that Ganymede itself will get you, and you can pick this one up for around 30 bucks. It's a killer deal. All right, I think this is the last one. I think this is number 12. Let's see, did I go? Yeah, I think I went 12 in this video. And so this one is one that got a ton of hype and it's been getting some hate because people say it lasts for an hour. I can tell you I wore this yesterday. It does not last for an hour, not on me anyway. It lasts for about 4 or 5 hours, which isn't great, but it's not terrible because it's a $30 clone of a $300 to $500 fragrance. This is Fragrance World's Imperium, and this is a clone of Raja Parfums Elysium. It's a beautiful kind of bright, juicy, sweet citrus. So you've got like some bergamot and some lime. You've also got some black currant. And then you've got a heart basically of a blue fragrance. And then you've got some vetiver, some grassy vetiver that's very noticeable. And this one, out of the 4 clones I have of Elysium, this one's probably the closest. It doesn't perform great, 4 to 5 hours, but it's very close. But what you need to know about any Elysium-like fragrance and most fragrances that open with a beautiful, juicy, bright citrus, sweet citrus, is the citrus hangs on, for an hour or two, and then 80% of that is gone and you're left with the base notes. This one, the citrus kind of floats away in the first hour or two and you're only left with a touch of the citrus and that grassy vetiver. And Elysium itself is similar, but it's, maybe times 2. Maybe you have that citrus hanging on for twice as long or something like that. It's a very good clone. It's not a very good performer, but for $30, even on Amazon, they'll sometimes have it for less than $30. It's a great clone of Elysium and one that I still recommend, even though I've got a bunch of other clones. All right, so that has actually been 12, not 10 fragrances that work really well in the heat, that are clones of much more expensive fragrances. But I would love to know what would be your list of 12. And again, please consider subscribing to the channel. We've got videos like this coming out every couple days, and I hope that you'll join us. I'm Justin. This has been Sillage Scents. I'll see you on the next one.